Welcome on into Goose of All Trades. This series is focusing on the candidates for Barker for 2022, and I'm joined by Vince Pannell. Did I get that pronunciation right for your last name?
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
I did,
you
yeah.
did. Perfect.
Good,
Yeah.
okay. So this series will delve into all the candidates and their policies, issues. I'll ask them questions, and we'll go from there. The first question is, I guess, why are you running as an independent candidate for Barker? Why independent?
Okay. So one thing is that if you actually look at the Constitution, we're supposed to be running as independents anyway. People are supposed to be electing the person they want to put up into Parliament, right? Right now, I'm going to try not to wave my hands around because it puts funny things all over your screen. I speak with my hands, but and there you go. There's an extra Vince on the screen. Um, but effectively, as an independent, we are voted in by the people because we have to get 100 names to be even allowed to go in.
Yep.
Whereas in party politics, the elite pick the person and then the people vote for the person. That's just not the way it's supposed to be. So the party's in the centre there,
Yep.
which is wrong. Okay.
Yep.
So that's part one, plus our beliefs and the ideas and concepts that we have come from a very good little organisation you may know about, which is Australia One. We believe in their principles.
Yep.
So we're following those principles.
Yep. That's a great answer. I agree with. We see it in a lot of countries where it's that two party politics, and we've seen it in countries I think like France and all that, where a third party from a minor party or an independent will get in. It doesn't happen very often, and that's obviously as prime minister or president or stuff like that. But it is great to see in Australia, especially here in South Australia. If I'm not wrong, this is obviously not federal but state. We've actually elected more independents than Labor or Liberal for state. Our current seat is held by Troy Bell, who was a former Liberal, but he's now been voted in
Yeah,
twice as an independent. And I
yeah, I
find
heard
that,
that.
I find that very interesting that Mount Gambier kind of leads that way. That we've had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, five independents hold the seat of Mount Gambier, whereas I think we've had maybe two Labor and three Liberal, or vice versa. So I'm all for independence because we're happy with Troy Bell down here. We've been happy with independence in the past with Don Pegler, who I think did a great job. And yeah, so I think it's great that independents run because I could be wrong, but I don't think we've had independents run in federal for Barker since 2013. Am I correct?
Oh, you're ahead of me on that one, mate. I'm not a politician. I don't follow it. I just got to the point where I said enough is enough.
Okay.
Somebody has to stand up,
Yep.
right? So while I understand a fair amount of the legalese and I'm know about just exactly where our there goes that hand, where our government sits, right, legally,
Yep.
or in this case probably illegally. Um, there's only one way we're going to be able to fight this for these guys. We can't take them through the courts because that's under the same regime. So we're going to have to go in from the inside and tear them down, basically.
Yep.
That's it. We've got some great policies and procedures and stuff that we want to try and save this country.
Yep.
But, as independents in the lower house, we may just grab that balance of power, especially this time around,
Yep.
right? So that's why we're here, standing up for the people for a change.
And do you think you have I guess, an advantage in the way that you're not a past politician, like you've just stated? It's gotten to a point where enough is enough. I need to stand up and do it. Do you think you've got an advantage in that way that you're coming in kind of fresh? You've got these ideas. You're not held down by a party or anything like that. Do you feel as that as an advantage, or do you feel as though that kind of holds you back, or where do you stand on that point of view?
No, well, you think about this. Most of the politicians in our government are what? Lawyers,
Yes, that's correct.
right?
Yep.
What do lawyers try to do? Complicate the shit out of things, right? So if you get somebody who's like myself, who's a programmer, what is my business is logic.
Yep.
So I like to break things down to simple because that makes it work better. So we need to do that. We need to break it down to simple,
Yep.
right? So, how many times have we been? I was talking to a lawyer at one stage, and he said I'd never degrade myself to be a politician. So, does that give you an idea that even their own profession don't like it?
Well, yes, that's a different point of view for sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically where we're at. I think we've got an advantage if we can get common sense people in there who are thinking about the people and listening to the people. On my video, I said, these are my ears. They have a job, and that's to listen to you,
Yep.
right? And that is true because we need the voice for the people in the parliament that goes there and say, sorry, that law's no good. That's got to go, right? You can't bring troops from overseas here and give them carte blanche and can't even convict them of anything. That's got to go, right?
Yep.
Mandates, that's got to go, right? All those people who were literally sacked because they stood up for their rights should be compensated. Right?
Yep.
I'm one of those, by the way.
Yep. So going back to what you stated earlier about your background and all that, do you think that voters will be trying to think of the right phrase here, kind of deterred because you don't have a background in politics or as a politician, or do you think that your beliefs and your policies are strong enough that people think, hey, we don't care, we want someone that's going to fight for us and fight for our policies and vice versa? Is that how you feel, or?
Oh, yeah. I think that people have had enough of the bullshit, to be honest. All right. Now, yes, you don't need to be a poly to go into the government. Now, I'm a computer tech here, but that's not the only trade I've had. Right. We're in a rural area, and like I've worked on farms. I've been a dairy hand. I've worked in piggeries. I've done meat works. I even had my own little 250-acre farm for a while. Right. So rural farming, I love farming, but I just can't do it because I don't have the money to buy a farm.
Yep.
Okay. Right. So that's one point. Secondly, government likes to complicate things. As I said before, we don't need that. We can break a lot of this stuff back and just start putting it there. It's almost a stage now where you have to look up what you can do, not what you can't do with the laws. And that's just bullshit.
Yep.
Basically. So we have good policies. We have good ways of saving this country. We've got an idea to actually bring in a expenditure tax, 2% expenditure tax, right? That will wipe out every other single tax that we have. That's effectively giving people roughly a 40% pay rise, right?
Yep.
Just on what they're currently earning. So, right? And we know that the figures work.
Yep. So with you obviously stating you're independent, and with a lot of your policies, did you think about going as a candidate for a party, or was it always independent? Did you ever think about being a member for another, or?
It's no, not for me personally. All right. The policies that we follow are Ricardo Bossi's policies. All right. That's our choice because we believe in them, but we're standing as true independents, which does mean, of course, if we get that situation where the voters in Barker say, hey, we want to go this direction, right, and Bosie's policies go that direction, well, guess what? We have to do this because we are true independents.
Yep.
Right? That's how we came in.
Yep.
Right? So that's the way that's going to work. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be.
And so I guess I kind of already asked it, but this is more of the formal question about as your campaigning continues, what are the pros but also the cons of running as an independent, do you find?
Well, one of the cons was I actually managed number 9 on a voters list from down there from your wonderful Mr. Passon. I made spot number 9 on the preference vote. I should have taken a bet on that. So they've just come out. But
yep.
Yeah, sorry. Answer your question. The pros are that we are from the grassroots. We are from the people. We are from the fighting. We're just general, everyday, average people that people can relate to, right? That are just standing up. The cons, obviously, we are not in the political games, and we're not necessarily political savvy, but I don't think that's really going to matter.
Yep.
I learned pretty quick. Okay, so if they try to push stuff, I'm not there. I'm not going in there to get bought, paid for, or whatever. That's not my job, right? As far as I'm concerned, I don't really want to do this job, right? And a lot of the independents that run in, and also the minor parties, they're standing up because someone needs to stand up and be that tip of the spear to start saving this country, right?
Yep.
I'll give you an example. I ask a question of a lot of people, and I get people talking to me. I ask them this, right? When you talk to your candidate, ask them this question: are they a servant or a leader? Right? Now, so if you were sitting in my position and I asked you that question, what would you answer?
Oh, put me on the ground. I would say
Sorry, mate.
I would say servant because I'm serving
Right.
the people, but that's how
Yep.
I look at it. That's
Okay. Most of the guys, if you talk to them, especially Lib Labours, I'll bet you 10 to 1 they start rattling off that they're a good leader and they do this, they do that, they do that. That's not the right answer. And servant's not the right answer either,
trick question.
right? You have to be both,
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
right? Because you're standing up for the people, so therefore you're a leader, right? But you're also the servant of the people because you have to listen to them and hear them and work for them, etc. So if they were to answer both, the next question you got to ask is which one takes the priority, the servant or the leader? And the answer can only be one. And you're going to try and guess?
Serving.
Spot on.
Yeah, okay.
Spot on. That's exactly right. Right. And that's what anybody who stands in Parliament needs to be. And that's what I believe I am. So that's part of the reason why I'm running.
Yep.
Okay.
Great answer.
Because I'm not going to go there for me. I'm not going there for me. I'm going there for two reasons. One is for Australia to save this country, get our infrastructure back, get all that stuff happening. The second is I have 6 kids. I want to give them a future, not get them led down a path to an abyss.
Yep. I guess and that's some great reasoning too. It's clearly that's great answer for why you want to run, and as you said that you don't have a background in politics, but it got to a point where enough is enough, and I think your reasons behind why you think enough is enough and why you want to build a better future for your kids and other people's kids and all that. I guess another avenue from this question is being independent. I guess a con that I would see, but I'm not obviously running as independent, so you can answer this for me. Do you find yourself as a disadvantage due to funding? Because I guess someone like Tony Passon would have a lot more funding because he's obviously seating, and someone from bigger parties or would get donations because they're from a bigger party, vice versa. Do you feel as though that's a disadvantage because of the marketing side of it? I mean, marketing is a very big side of it. Do you feel as though that's a big disadvantage?
Well, mate, let me put it this way, right? I know that the two independents that are running, so Matty Fry and I and myself, right, we're both of similar philosophies. We're both running our own independent campaigns, but we're both backing each other up, right? I can quite happily tell you that we're both running on a shoestring. Matter of fact, if you've got a shoestring you can lend me, I'd appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, it is like that. We are basically bare bones. We're paying for stuff ourselves. We've got some donations coming in, which is great. But when you compare our $1,000 or $2,000 budget to somebody's, multi-million-dollar UAP budget, where do we stand? So we need the people to listen to us. That's all.
Well, I think I did read. I don't know if this is 100% accurate. I did read that $5,000 it'll cost to get those big. I think they're plastic or cardboard signs up on the roads.
Yeah, the cornflakes.
Yes. So it's $5,000 to get them out, pamphlets out, blah blah blah. Like that's alone is a lot of money, and obviously factor in you're traveling because I guess you're going to travel to different places in Barker, obviously to campaign. So that's why I asked the question because I thought it would be a big disadvantage for obviously people that work and
literally and that's the beauty. I'm sort of part working because I'm a computer consultant. Matty, I know, is not. But the beauty, just to letterbox drop our house, all the houses that we need for Barker, that's $3,500.
Yeah, wow.
Just one letterbox drop.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I already said, well, I already said what my budget currently is at the moment. Still growing, but
Yeah. And do you
we only
have
got 20.
a big team of supporters slash trying to think of the word
Yeah. That is one
yeah.
thing that we can be very, very, very grateful of, right? The guys that are coming from the freedom parties that are out there, the guys that have been protesting, they are backing us up to the hilt. Not necessarily with funds, but man, we'll come and do this. We'll work on this, at the polling booths. We'll put out letterbox drops for you. Just give us the stuff. That is
Yeah.
so good, so good.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Obviously, it's a bit of a biased question, but obviously, a lot of my listeners will be from Mount Gambier. Specifically, what will you do for the town of Mount Gambier if you're elected, as in, policies, issues, anything like that, if you have any? Because I know Mount Gambier isn't just Barker. Like, we know it's not just us, but obviously, we know we're a big part of Barker. And I guess
Yep.
other people in Barker would obviously ask the same question, I guess, of all the candidates.
Yeah. Okay, it is actually a really good question because we do have to work across the whole state. And you've got Renmark, you've got Murray Bridge, and then you've got Mount Gambier. Of course, Mount Gambier being my old hometown where I grew up.
Yep.
So the first thing I'd probably do is go and just have a decent drink of Blue Lake water again. Well, minus the fluoride, hopefully. But
Yep.
generally speaking, it's got to be an approach. I know up our way here, it's much more housing orientated. I don't know if it's like that in Mount Gambier yet. I haven't had a chance to find out. But housing and homeless people is a big issue. One thing about Mount Gambier is it's beautiful, rich, green farming land, right? Just because it's the mount and the volcano. Now, we need to actually step back here. And as I said before, there's the thing about 2%. The other thing we need to step back here and is going back to primary production. Right. So all our farmers and stuff, at the moment, they're hurting like crap. I was talking to one the other day, and super has doubled in price. Right. The chemicals have doubled in price in this last year alone. Then we add the increase of the diesel on top of that. It's just a silly question here, but if they go bust, what do we eat?
Yep.
Okay. All of a sudden, we're in big shit. So we need to get them back on. They need to be subsidized. We need to start pulling all of this, the land and the infrastructure and everything that has been sold overseas without our permission back into this country. Right, we need to divide up the huge conglomerates like the massive meat packing system that's currently bought by one company, and just about everyone knows. That's got to be divided back, come back in, divided out, given to Australians. So we've got to promote primary industry, secondary industry, and tertiary industry. Now, if we get those three running and they're independently owned by smaller Australians, what's that going to do? That's going to bring in a workforce of Australians, right? They're going to start earning money. When they start earning money, they're going to start feeling better about themselves. They're going to be able to start buying houses. So it all rolls back from the bare bones of the country coming back in.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, and I guess that leads well into my next question is, out of all your policies and issues and everything that you want to implement in Barker, it's probably a bit hard for you, but what are three policies or issues that you would say are your most important to you and what you think are most important to that of Barker, if you can narrow it down to three? Probably hard, but
I have three major. There's a lot that needs to be fixed, right? But
yeah,
you're not going to be able to fix them all in one session.
Yep.
It's just not going to happen. This plan of getting our government back is like a 100-year plan. It's going to be 2 or 3 generations to do it properly, wipe the filth out that's in there and get something back to what it should be. But looking at those, obviously primary production is one of the first ones that I talked about. The second one is actually housing, getting that. Now, I've actually tied those two into it a little bit together.
Yep.
Part of building up a primary production, we could actually start ourselves a very, very good hemp industry.
Okay.
Right,
Yep.
where we grow hemp. Right, that has a couple of advantages. One, it's a really fast-growing material. It can be used in housing blocks for actually building houses, along with clothing, rope, paper, everything else. The second part to that is it actually helps with the green cause a little bit, because hemp pulls a lot of carbon dioxide out of the air, right? About 4 or 5 times more than trees. So while we've got that industry, that's a quick fix. And while that's growing, we can still be planting trees to get back, some of the 2.3 billion we've lost.
Yep.
Right. So that's that part of it. The third part is we have a very aged community, right? And we do not have the resources and the infrastructure to handle those aged people. A lot of them are still living out on the properties and they've had to move into town or in the smaller towns. They can't afford to go to Adelaide. It's too damn expensive, right? So they're living out here. They need to go to Adelaide for a hospital appointment. How do they get there? They can't drive anymore. They're too old. They've lost their license, right? So we don't have that infrastructure in place, and we don't have enough medical infrastructure in our bigger towns to handle what is required.
Yep.
So they're the three main areas that I'm looking at just off the bat.
Yep.
My last job before I ended up sitting on the fence doing part-time contracting work was aged care.
Yep.
And of course, come the 1st of December, that finished. The reason why it finished is obvious.
Yeah. So you're calling for more funding for aged care, and like, is that where it starts? Is the more funding of it so it can fix these issues you're talking about, or?
Certainly more funding, but we need to be able to raise those funds first, and that means getting the country back on its feet. There is also, I think, a lot of waste in this area, and there's a lot of people on the ground who do the actual job, right, know where there could be savings made, and therefore, they could put those ideas through. But I was talking to a young lady in the medical profession, and I asked her if she had any opinions on it. She said, well, basically I work for the health department, I can't say anything. I thought to myself, why not? Why are you gagged? Do you have ideas? She said, yeah, I've got ideas, but I can't say anything.
Yep.
Why is she gagged?
Yep.
Yeah, come on. This part about the freedom of speech we don't have anymore, and this is part of what you do. So I really appreciate what you do.
Oh,
but
thank you.
As an IT person, I can see it. I mean, I saw it when it started happening right back at the beginning, and I was smart enough to obviously know to go around the borders and find the information elsewhere.
Yep.
So I'm lucky enough, but a lot of people don't. They trust Google. Well, Google failed badly.
So do you find yourself obviously not agreeing with the whole party or the whole ideology of the party, but do you agree that side of freedom with a party like the United Party of Australia? Because they've really been pushing hard about this freedom of speech and getting the freedom back in Australia. Do you agree to that, or is your sense of it a bit more different?
No, UAP, for instance, the idea, the concept. So I was listening to Craig Kelly's speech the other night. I don't want to run my campaign at shooting at anybody. I'm going to shoot at a lot of them, because my campaign runs on, do you trust the major parties?
Yeah.
Do you really trust them, right? Now, Craig Kelly stood up and started fighting for the people in Parliament, which was great. But I also look at his history, right, with everything that he has voted for. I mean, some of the bills I talked about repealing earlier, he voted for them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He may have had a change of heart. That's great. But right now I've got this much evidence here and I've got this much evidence here. Right? He hasn't outweighed that lot yet.
Yep.
So while they're on the great path, he's a politician. He's been a politician all his life. Comes back to, do you trust the pollies?
Yep.
Right? Yep. Right back to that. And, where do your loyalties lie? Is he really loyal to us? I know the reason why he went for UAP and the millions of dollars of backing he could use to win. That's a good reason. But, okay, I run on intuition. My intuition says no.
Yep. Yep.
The message is correct. The message is correct.
Yep.
But do we trust him to deliver it properly?
Yep. And that's a very, very good answer to my question. Um, I think I've kind of already answered that question, but I ask it in a different way. Do you do you feel as though it is essentially a David versus Goliath battle against the major parties because of what you've already stated earlier with financing and fundraising, and it's been a two-party, we've been a two-party country for I don't know how long, but yeah.
Forever.
Do you feel as though like this is a really big battle, and obviously you feel as though it's a battle you can win, but would David versus Goliath be a good enough analogy, or is there a better one that you would?
No, I don't think so. Not unless you want to go War of the Worlds or something. Right? Or Kobayashi Maru if you're a Star Trek fan.
Yep.
Right? It sort of feels like that sometimes. So we need to do a Kirk and cheat. But effectively, yes, it is a David and Goliath thing. The one difference I think we have about this election is I think there's a lot more people sitting silently who are actually really pissed off.
And are you talking voters or are you talking?
Yeah, I'm talking voters.
Yep.
Right. We had them. Did you get to see Canberra at all?
Have I seen Canberra?
Yeah, when everybody went to Canberra.
No. No. I've maybe seen bits, but yeah.
That's because they didn't show it, right?
Yeah.
That was just enormous. They said 10,000 people. Yeah, I think that person needs to go back and redo his calculations.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
The lawns were totally full of people. There were people under the trees everywhere. Right? Apparently, the federal police said 1.4 million cars came into Canberra on the Friday before that protest.
Yep. Wow. Yep.
Just do a bit of maths. If every car had 2 people in it.
Yep.
All right. Camp Epic, when we were in Camp Epic, they were just rolling on all Friday. Started at about 1 o'clock and didn't finish until about 2 or 3 in the morning. They were just banked up for miles outside of Camp Epic. They had to open up another 20 and 30 acres to house the people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's the ones that got up and protested. What about all those who couldn't go?
So did that kind of, probably not convince you, but did that really sell to you that, hey, maybe I should run as an independent because people are annoyed with the government or the two parties? Is that kind of how you felt, or were you already kind of decided at that point, or?
No, the decision to actually run was a bit last minute. Okay, yep. It was not. I was basically looking at what was happening around the place, and where we were moving with the freedom movement. We were going somewhere, right? But we just, if we didn't put people up to stand, we're losing the battle. So this is more a battle of, hey, yeah, we said we were going to do this. Well, we're here. We're doing it. Yep. Right now, it's up to you guys, right? Do you want to vote for us or not? If you don't, that's fine, right? But make sure whoever you pick on that freedom line, you can trust.
Yep.
Right? Because you don't want someone that's going to walk in there for themselves, get bought out, get bribed, get threatened, whatever. Right? You don't want them in there. You need somebody you can trust who is full on freedom, right? Full on for you and full on for saving families.
Yep.
Sorry, I get a little bit in this one.
That's all right. Shows passion. That's what these interviews are all about. So this is probably a bit of a random question, but I just like to ask any question that I feel as though is relevant, only because Barker is this election we don't have a candidate from the Animal Justice Party. Do you have any policies or issues around that of animal cruelty or animal policies or anything to do like that with voters in Barker that maybe wanted to vote for Animal Justice Party, but they don't have an option? So is there any selling point for your campaign and you that you would sell to that community, or?
Honestly, I don't have anyone that I've looked at as far as that, but
Yep,
obviously being a farmer, I know about good health for animals and bits and pieces, and I would like to try and keep that in play.
yep,
Um, yeah, so I haven't really got a comment on that one at all. I don't
yep,
have any policies that I can refer to. I probably
yep,
could find one in A1 somewhere, but I
yep.
haven't looked
No,
at
that's fine. Yep, that's what I said. Completely random, so I didn't expect answer or not. That's all
it.
good.
Well, so I'll give you an answer of yes or no, or I don't know. So
Yep,
you're good. So
yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. I guess this question is more about Vince as a person. Obviously, talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to tell what people, what your career is, what your hobbies are, like who is Vince as a person outside of
Sorry, that
outside
was
of.
a off.
That's right.
Who is Vince outside as a person? Oh, okay. So I am a 60-year-old person. As I said, I've worked through many industries. I've been a labourer. I worked in the timber industry. I was a pine faller. I've worked in meat abattoirs. I've worked on farms. I worked in shops doing photography behind the counter. Um, Basically worked behind service stations, right, as a counter. So I've done a lot of things, and then
Yep.
I sort of fell into my passion, which was IT,
Yep.
and I've been doing that for 30 odd years. That includes working for a great company called Aussie Broadband, so I'll just give them a plug, right? A fully Australian owned company, and I was one of their IT techs here. We set up the large wide area network, which meant, of course, going up and down towers, working around microwaves, all that sort of stuff. So did that. Plus, I was a lecturer in TAFE for 12 years, teaching IT and so on, with a sideline hobby of my own business, and also, once I got to Mannum, my own farm, until that fell in a hole due to a divorce situation, and we couldn't afford to buy each other out, so we had to sell it.
Yep.
But that's a shame, right?
Yep.
I've got 6 kids, as I said, right? One stepson. They're all great, wonderful kids, which we're really happy about. One of the two of those are actually disabled. One's deaf, and the other one's got what is called Opitz G. That's a very interesting problem. So we do understand the disability care side due to that. And matter of fact, the lack of ability to get care for our deaf girl, in just for us even to learn how to sign,
Yep.
was an issue, which is one of the reasons why I'm hot on disability aged.
Yep. Of course.
Okay.
Yep.
For me as a person, I believe I'm honest. Well, I can't say everybody's 100% honest, because they're not. Okay. But I'm the type of person that if they undercharge me at the counter in the supermarket, I'll say, hey, you undercharged me.
Yep.
Okay. So there's that one. I'm loyal, definitely loyal. Matter of fact, to a fault.
Yep.
And the perfect example of that is the place I last worked at, which dismissed me for not taking a mandate, right? I promised to them that I would not come back and hurt that organisation, because they're aged care and they're doing a great job. I actually still sit on the board of that organisation, even though they fired me.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Right? It was a business decision. They get most of their money from the government, who was pushing the mandates. Right? So it's fairly obvious. I like to make fun of myself occasionally. Am I stupid? Yeah, well, sometimes I think I might be. So you got to have a good laugh at yourself, and you got to allow, people throw shit at you. It's got to just come off the bat, like a duck, basically. Let the water run off. And lastly, right, when it comes to my family, I will stand on that hill and I'll die on that hill.
Yep.
Right, and that's the same for anybody else's family who wants to come along.
Yep. Again, yeah.
How's that?
Yep. Another great answer. I guess going back to what you're saying about all your different careers and different industries you've been in, do you think that's a big advantage to you running in this election? Is you understand a lot of different industries, not just one industry. Like myself, I'm a chef. I've done that for most of my life. You've obviously done a lot of different things. Do you feel as though that's a big advantage, and voters should take that into account?
That's a huge advantage because that means that they can come and talk to me and know that I've got an experience somewhere close to what they need.
Yep. Oh no.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, we know the question. There's a bit of a technical difficulty there, but yeah. So do you remember the question, or would you like me to repeat it?
No, I remember the question. So the
Okay.
question is yes, it's a huge advantage that I've had those different types of careers because it means that I've been down where the people are at. I'm still down where the people are at, to be more honest, right? Working in those grounds, in those areas. That means I've got some concept of what they're talking about. I'm not some high and mighty elite,
Yep.
all right? And that's the big point. We're not elites. A lot of the people who are running now are not elites. We're going there for the country.
Yep. Another good answer. Um, Another random question. Do any of your policies or issues surround the justice system or anything to do with that at all?
Reason why I went down this rabbit hole in the first place 20 plus years ago about finding this out was over a speeding fine, believe it or not. Right, that what basically happened, I got that speeding fine and I wanted to dispute it because it was like I was coming down a hill. There was someone was reflecting off the side of the car, which had reflection, and all this stuff was telling me, you know, these radar guns aren't that accurate with that sort of an interference because I wasn't doing the speed that they said I was, and I did all the maths and all that stuff and whatever. But the point was that I had to go and prove my innocence. Right? I was guilty before I even started the game. Now, hang on, that's not how our judicial system works. So when I started researching it, I found another bit, and then I found another bit, and then I found another bit, and I sort of down this bloody great rabbit hole I went. And after that day, that was the wake up pill. That was the red pill for me. When I started looking at things and saying, oh, hang on a minute. These politicians haven't even sworn the correct oath for the last 60 years. What the, what's going on here? Right, and you think they have, and I'll give you an example. Anybody can look this up on YouTube, right? We have an oath that's in our Constitution. Now, our Constitution is supposed to be the highest law in the land, correct?
That's correct.
Right. We have an oath at that end of that Constitution that reads out, I do solemnly swear, blah, blah, I, my name, do solemnly swear, da, 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 right? To the Queen of Great Britain and Ireland, etc. at the end of it. And that name may change from time to time. You go and watch the swearing in at Parliament, right? What they do is they call up 12 people to the thing, they put their hand on the Bible, right? And the Governor General reads out the oath, and then at the end of that, they say, I do solemnly swear, so help me God. Now, tell me, every other armed forces, police force, etc., when they swear an oath, what do they do?
Hand on my chest, or hand on the heart.
Yeah. Or up on the air.
Yeah.
My name, do solemnly swear. Da 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 da. Yet, Parliament never does that.
Okay.
They never stick their hand up, and they never say their name, and they never do the full oath. Does that make that oath legal and binding? Good question. Don't know the answer, but as far as I'm concerned, no.
Yep. Hey.
Right?
That's something I definitely didn't know, but there you go.
Right. So there's lots of little things like that. And the fact that when the Prime Minister swears in, he swears an oath to the Queen of who?
England.
Australia? No, Australia. Sorry, who is the Queen of Australia?
Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know they said that. Okay. Yep.
So there's those things, right? So that's just part of it, and that's how they just scully around things. Knowing that, I'll tell you now, if I was to win, right, I will be taking the proper oath from the Constitution. I don't give a crap what they say because I'm there to do that oath, the one that's actually legal.
Yep. Yep. That's another great answer. As an independent, do you think it's easier for you to tackle broader issues than other big parties that are I guess, tied to their one or two sole belief, as in like the Greens or Animal Justice Party? Do you feel as though that you can tackle whatever you want because if the people want it, then you can try and do it? Is that?
That's on their voice. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. If there came to a point of hung parliament, for instance, I'm surprised you haven't asked this question, but if it came to a point of hung parliament, how would I deal with that? They're going to come at me from either side. Give you this deal, give you that deal, give you this deal. You know, it's not my call. It's not my call. I would have to go back to the people and say, hey, guys at Barker, which one of these two guys do you want me to deal with? Because as far as I'm concerned, they're both as bad as each other, right? You're going to have to tell me. It also means that as an independent, even if we work out a government, say it might be Libs or it might be Labor, right? If the people of Barker say we don't like that idea, I'll cross the floor. I don't care. I'm an independent. I'm allowed to do that.
yep,
Right? Because I'm not there for the government. I'm there for the people. Simple as that.
yep. And I guess another question is, outside of Barker now, we're talking just Australia as a country. It's 2022. The world's a different place. COVID's hit. Blah blah blah. Is there any other issues that you would like Australia to tackle as a nation, like not just Barker, but what's something that you'd like to see change in Australia? If that's not too much of a broader question, but maybe just pick one or two answers if you want.
All right. Well, it gets summed up pretty well with creating a socially economic free society that is militarily intimidating, right? Culturally sound, financially stable, right? To do that, we need to do some things. One of the first things is we need to get out of a whole heap of agreements that we are currently in that we shouldn't be at. For instance, the Lima Agreement that destroyed all our manufacturing, right? We need to get to the things like the ports, the silos, all that stuff that's been bought by overseas companies and countries, and we need to bring them back. They're ours. Water, electricity, right? All that infrastructure that we would class as critical, telecommunications, that should not be owned by any foreign company ever, right? Think about it this way. China wants to stop us, wants to take us over, and they want to declare war. Make a phone call to their currently owned subsidiaries and power companies to say, turn off the switch.
Yeah.
We've lost. All right, that's it. We're done. All right, so, all that infrastructure's got to come back. We can sit here. We are a fantastic island, and we can actually do it all by ourselves. We could live comfortably all by ourselves with putting in new water schemes, the Bradford scheme, bringing that down so that we can start fertilizing some of the areas and watering the areas that aren't, get rid of the costs of the farmers for the water, still give them a quota, right? They have to be fair, got to give them a quota, but they shouldn't have to pay for it. Water is free. Did you hear about the idea of taxing rainwater tanks?
No, I did not.
It's a while back, right? It's a little while back. And I think it was Victoria that was looking to bring in a rainwater tax, a tax for rainwater in people's tanks. And, I said, yeah, try bring that in here, mate. I'll take you to court. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, where's your receipt from God for the payment of the water?
Yep.
Because it doesn't belong to us. It's nature's, right? We're using it. So there's things like, and that's the common sense approach that needs to be taken into this parliament, right? We need to pull all that infrastructure back. We need to build those businesses back up. We need to take the big corporations out of here and give Australia a chance to actually do it itself.
Yep.
Does that help answer that question?
Does, yep. It does. Yeah, this is obviously getting towards the end of the interview. We're through my questions. Is there anything else that you would like to say to people that may think of voting for you? Like, how should they vote on the ballot for you? Like, what best benefits Vince Pannell, and if there's any other policies or issues you'd like to address?
Okay. Basically, do you need to vote for me? No. right? That's a bit of an interesting answer. If you do wish to vote to me, it's because you trust that I'm going to do the right thing, right? But that's your decision. That's everybody's decision out there. What a lot of the freedom parties are doing and independents are doing is we're collaborating. Like we had a very good little live situation where we had UAP, One Nation, Australian Federation, myself and Maddie all in a live together, just answering questions. We're teaming up in that respect because we need somebody that we can trust who is not the big four to go in there with a big stick and start smacking these guys around, right?
Yeah.
Who that's going to be, we don't know, but it does come down to three basic things. You've got to trust the person's going to do the job, right? You've got to be loyal to that. Now, you've got to ask the question, have the government or those major parties been loyal to you? Have they done what you want? The answer is probably no, if you ask that question.
Yeah.
So, where are you going to get that loyalty from? You're going to have to put that to someone else. I mean, to get loyalty, to receive loyalty, you've got to give loyalty, right? So that's the next major thing. So all I'm saying for everybody is research, 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 right? Pick your people. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Australian AusFed. It could be UAP. I'm so on that one, but right. It could be One Nation. I know they've been standing up from the start as well. Okay. So we need freedom parties that are in there that are fighting for the people, not the big fours who are looking after themselves. And a classic example of that right now is why have the big fours decided to put Labor has preferenced Liberal before any independent.
Yes, that was
Uh,
that was very
yeah,
shocking. Yeah.
hello, Bird here, right? Wing, Bird, right? I'm not saying that they're of the same bird, but it sure looks like it,
Yep.
right? So, and if people can't see that, then they need to look a bit harder, right? That is just totally taken away our Westminster system.
And just to clarify for some, sorry, just to clarify for some listeners that may not know, who are the big four?
Okay, so that's Liberal, Labor, Democrats, and Greens.
Yep.
All right. So the Greens will go Labor sides, the Democrats will go the Nationals. Sorry, not Democrats, the Nationals will go Liberal side.
Yep.
So they're your big four. They've already done it more than once.
Yep.
All right. And we can't have that again. If we let them win this time, after everything they've just done, after all the laws that they put into place, which are still sus, some of those mandate laws, etc., that go against the Nuremberg Code, for instance, which we are a treaty member of. All right. If we let them do that and we elect them back in, what's to stop them from doing it again? Making another big announcement of some big virus that kills only 99% of the people, like 99% will survive, right? What's to stop them from doing that again? I mean, more people are catching the flu this year than they probably had COVID last year, but they're not going to do anything about that. You just got to look at the common sense, and there's so much more on that. I'm not even going to touch it.
Yep.
Right, because people just won't understand. They don't understand that. I will say this about this. If a lot of what we are seeing on the underground side of it that is not being promoted by public media, because they're a part of our enemy, they're owned by 6 corporations, right? And you're not one of those, so this is why you're great, right? A lot of that information is telling us there's going to be some pretty nasty results 3 to 5 years down the track. It means we're going to have a lot of people hurting. Our job, the people who have been here fighting at the start, is for us to actually go out there and help those guys. Right? We are going to need to be the arms and the shoulders and the backs that they lean on. Right? Because, right. I hope, pray like crazy I'm friggin' wrong. But if I'm right, that's going to happen.
So this, probably lack of a better word, but this movement that you're a part of and you want to spearhead, do you think this is just the start of something and it's going to be a slow build? So, for example, this election, there might be a few independents and a few minor parties win, but then next election, there could be more and then more and more. Do you think this is a long-term goal and you're just part of the start, I guess?
Just hang on a sec. My daughter is interrupting me. I stole her headphones earlier. All right, no worries. Love you. So, yes, we are just the tip of the spear. Okay, we are got to get this rolling, and as I said earlier, it's going to be a 2 or 3 generation battle to wipe out all this evil that we've been put under for the last 60 years. It took them 60 years to build it. It's going to take us that long to dismantle it.
Yep.
All right. But it has to come from the heart of the people. It's getting more and more and more. I mean, 1.5 million people in Canberra is a pretty good showing. So we are the tip of this. I'm not going to see it finish. Right? I'll be dead before it's done.
Yep.
But that's not the point. There's another one coming up. We are definitely just the tip of the spear. Hopefully we can make a dent. Every little dent we do in there is great. I know if anybody has followed Ricardo, he can get quite soldierish sometimes, especially with his language. But as he said, right, we've got to go in there and we're going to start ripping it apart from the inside.
Yep.
And that means making significant changes that are going to help the people, not hinder them. And that's all that's been happening for the last 3 years is hinder, hinder, hinder.
Yep. So, yeah.
Look at that. I just did that thing. I thought,
this comes to the end of the interview. Thanks so much, Vince, for being my first candidate interviewed. I've had to shuffle around a lot of things because I really wanted to do a lot of interviews in person, but my podcast studio isn't quite ready yet. That's a work in progress. So I appreciate you and everyone else wanting to do this virtually, so to speak. And thank you so much for being a part of it. And if any Mount Gambier people want to be a part of your campaign or see your campaign, are you in Mount Gambier anytime soon? Or
I've actually been down there once with Maddie Fry. This is the other independent.
Yep.
Right. We've both got very similar banners. In case you haven't noticed, she is one. Well, she's like a gutsy girl. I met her in Canberra. All I can say is that our philosophy is you pick the person you want to vote for, right? You put the other one a second.
Yep.
Right? And hopefully one of us will get in. We don't care which one, but one of us will get in.
Yep.
She is definitely, she's down your way. She's part of your Freedom Rally movement down there. I suggest you get a chance to interview her.
Tomorrow night.
Are you? Oh,
yep.
Good. You tell me that. I'll have to tell her off for that. But, right. So, Maddie's gutsy. Get her, give her help, whatever. Vote her in one if you're in that area, right? Or if you like my philosophy, because I'm older and a little bit more senile, that's fine, right? You can vote me one and put her two. It doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
But you want to support, Maddie needs it. I've got a really good group up here. I'm working the north for it. She's working the south, right? Our philosophies align. Either one of us is going to be a benefit to you. Right, that's a little bit different for politics, isn't it?
Yep, but
about it, right? I'm not taking down your and right. If neither of us, well, Kim's a great guy.
Yep.
From Ozfed, he's a really good guy. So there's another one, right? Any of the freedom parties, pick any of the freedom parties, put them first, second, third, fourth, fifth. You can pick your order you want for the last four. That's up to you. Right. Well, I'll put something out, but that's it. So get in behind Maddie. They're looking for us. sa-independence.com.au. You will see the independent candidates for South Australia in here from us, or our independents that follow the A1 principles. Anyway.
Yep. No worries. All right. Well, that brings this interview and episode of Goose of All Trades to an end. Thanks again to Vince, and stay tuned. For tomorrow night, Thursday night, and Friday night, we'll be interviewing more candidates, and the start of next week too. So Stay tuned, everybody, and thanks so much for watching. I'll catch everyone later.